while I kiss the sky. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we are checking out one of the greatest guitar riffs of all time. It is, of course, Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. Really, really cool tune, this one. Great one even for beginners to learn, you know, get the nuts and bolts of it down. And as you progress as a guitar player, you can spend probably a lifetime trying to perfect this one. I still don't think I've nailed it. I'm getting there. But this is a hard one to get just like the record, you know. There's lots of little subtle things to check out. A lot of people always ask about the sound, so I just want to talk about that for a second. Definitely using a Strat's the best thing for the Jimi Hendrix kind of sound. I'm using the rear pickup here, and I'm only going through one pedal, which is a fuzz pedal. Now, I'm pretty sure Jimi Hendrix would have used a fuzz face pedal. I'm using an Analog Man sun face pedal for this particular one, with the fuzz up on full and the volume up on about 2 o'clock. But you do need to do a little bit of tweaking with your amp settings as well. It's a little bit more trebly than I'd normally have my sound, this one. So you just need to experiment with the treble, middle and bass settings on your amp, because all amps are going to sound a little bit different. So let's go to a close-up, see how to play it. Okay, that's the very first little intro bit, and all we're doing is playing octaves of the note B flat. So the big deal here is using your first finger to play this low B flat note, which is the 6th fret of the thickest string, and to mute all of the strings underneath it, so you can really get a good kind of hit on that note. I'm actually hitting more than one string there. In fact, I'm hitting all the strings, but I'm just having that one note ring out. All of the rest are muted. I'm using my little finger on the 8th fret of the 4th string, which is the octave. So I'm kind of pressing down with my first finger, and now pressing down with my little finger and relaxing my first finger. So when I hit that one, I can hit all of the strings and just get that one note to ring out. It gives it a lot more kind of energy than going and trying to play the notes individually. So that's something that you can kind of work on. Again, if you're a beginner, you could just play the notes individually like that. They're all on the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the intro. Okay, now we're into the kind of the main riff. So let's look at it one phrase at a time. The very first bit. Okay, it's kind of like an E minor 7 little grip there. We're starting off with the 3rd finger in the 9th fret of the 4th string, then 1st finger in the 7th fret of the 3rd string, then the 2nd finger in the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then 1st finger reaching over to the 7th fret of the 4th string. And we got a little slide into that first note. The rhythm of it is 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Again, you want to mute as many of the strings up as you can, so you can give it good energy. Keeping your thumb kind of reaching over a little bit's a good idea here to mute the thicker strings. Again, for beginners, you could just play and be playing the notes quite carefully, and more advanced players, you want to be thinking a bit more about kind of playing it quite aggressively to get the tone right. So that's the first phrase. The second phrase is the 5th fret of the 4th string, followed by the open D string, followed by the open E string, and then a slide from the 5th fret to the 7th fret of the 5th string. Now, part of the tricky part here is making sure that the open strings don't ring out together. So after you've played the 5th fret, you do the open. You want to put your fingers back on the strings to mute that 4th string before you play the 6th string. Mute, and then play that one, and then slide. And on beat 4, you've got a little gliss going down from around the 12th fret, maybe a bit before, a bit after. Doesn't really matter, it's just a slide down. Let's have a look at all of that so far. Okay, the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, one more time. The second phrase is more or less exactly the same as the first one, just a very minor variation in the way he plays it. So the second phrase, he's just got this little slide up to the 5th fret, very short. Now if you want to kind of get that pretty handy, you want to slide it, and then I'm actually using my picking hand just to touch the string with the edge of my thumb, just to make sure that it's a nice short note. And then it finishes going into the next phrase, which is... Now I should mention this little slide sounds a little bit like the bass to me, and it seems to happen at the same time as those two notes. So not really sure, it might be a guitar overdub, might just be the bass. You can put, I like putting it in, but you can choose whether you put that little slide in or not. Then we've got 5th fret to the 7th fret hammer on the 5th string, then 5th fret on the 4th string, 7th fret, then a tone bend with the 3rd finger, and then dropping straight back to the 5th fret. You got to get that vibrato as well, just best listening to it. Then we've got this little run here using more open strings. Okay, this is 5th fret, the 4th string, open A string, open E string, and then the 3rd fret of the thicker string. Now the big deal here is trying to keep those notes nice and separated and not ringing into each other, because if you don't pay attention to your muting and it just goes, it just sounds pretty rough. So you want to play the 5, and I'm using here my 1st finger just to mute that A string as I'm playing that thicker string, as I'm playing the low E. And then to the 1st finger, 3rd fret. Now just before the next phrase we've got an open A string as well. So let's take it up to that point. So we got... Now the little final bit, it's starting with the open A on the and after 4. We've got 5th fret to 7th fret on the 5th string slide, 5th fret on the 4th string, full tone bend at the 7th fret, then 5th fret, 7th fret, it's a little hammer on there, then 5th fret open on the 4th string, then slide up to the 9th fret on the 4th string, 7th fret, 7th fret, and 9th fret, and then a little slide again, going into the rhythm. So that last section. Okay, from the little open stringy bit. 3, 4, and 1, and 2. 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Okay, let's run that whole section now. And now up to speed, whole thing. Okay, now we're looking at the rhythm part here. Now, I actually find this the hardest to get just like Hendrix, so I don't really feel I've nailed this. It's a kind of a difficult part to play exactly right. So we're starting off, we're using the E7 sharp 9 chord, commonly called the Hendrix chord. So we've got the open E string, and then 7th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. Okay, 2nd finger, 1st finger, 3rd finger, little finger, okay? This is the Hendrix chord. There's another way of playing it, but this is the way that you can see Hendrix doing it on quite a few different video clips. So we've got here one whole bar of that. I'm just going to back the volume off to clean the sound up a bit. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 to G to A. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, anyone that knows much about Hendrix will know he often plays with the thumb over, right? He had a really enormous hand. So the E7's played like this, but when it comes to the G, he'll be playing it with his thumb playing the bass note, the 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, 2nd finger, 4th fret of the 3rd string, 1st finger playing the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, possibly laying flat to cover the thinner string too. I don't really hear that note in there, to be honest, so I think it's more likely to have that D as the highest note. Sometimes I think I can hear the 3rd finger sitting on 2 notes at the same time. Okay, that's definitely not something that beginners want to try. It's kind of tricky. If you do it that way, you get all of the thickest 5 strings. So 3rd, 5, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so that's just, to do that technique, you put your 3rd finger down in the middle of the 2 strings. Takes a little bit of practice to be able to get all of those notes ringing out, all of those 2 notes ringing out. And the big deal, the reason that Hendrix did that is to be able to, well, probably just because it's kind of easier when you can do it, but as well it gives you your little finger free to do little embellishments. And I think in this one, he's using his little finger to hammer on the A chord on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. Okay, so E7 sharp 9, G, A. Okay, now it does take a little bit, there's a heavy accent on beats 2 and 4. I think it's kind of more like that on the E7. Really kind of makes it a little bit more percussive. On the G, it's definitely 1 and 2, 3 and 4. But again, you want to have a good listen to the record there and see if you can cop some of that rhythm there, because it's best learned by listening. After he's played that a bunch of times for the verse, there's the stop, and the stop is just the thickest E string there. So excuse me while I kiss the sky, and then there's this little, which is an octave shape, okay, similar to what we used in the intro. We're starting off with the 1st finger in the 7th fret of the 5th string, making sure that the underneath of the finger is muting all of the thinner strings, and the tip of the 1st finger is muting the thicker strings. So if we played the whole lot, we'd only hear that one note. Then we're adding our little finger in the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So you can hear, if I played the notes individually, mute, note, mute, note, mute, mute. Okay, again, you want to get that so you can really dig in and get a nice sort of a tone with that. And we're sliding that up 2 frets, and then back, and back another 2 frets. And you can see there, I can really hit all of the strings. Okay, after that we're using the same 3 notes that we used right in the intro, but we put a little curl on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, the note G. It's just like a little bend. Okay, and then it repeats again for the second verse. Now after the second verse, which is exactly the same, there's a little kind of continuation of that little riff, which I'll show you as well, which goes into the solo. We're going to be doing the solo in a separate lesson when I feel like I can do it kind of properly. And that little extension going into the solo. Okay, is that. So we're sliding up with the third finger into the 11th fret of the 4th string, then first finger in the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and then a tone bend at the 12th fret 2nd string. Okay, it does that twice, then it moves up to the 3rd finger sliding up to the 14th fret of the 4th string, first finger in the 12th fret of the 3rd string, and then 15th fret with a little bit of vibrato. And then we've got a 12th fret of the thinner string, followed by a bend on the 14th fret, a tone bend, 14th fret of the 3rd string. And then little finger reaches up to play the 15th fret of the 2nd string. Does that twice. Then it plays those two together 3 times. Okay, so that section. And then there's a little bit of whammy bar craziness. I think he hits that low E and dips it down with the whammy bar, but I've left my Strat with the whammy bar at home, unfortunately, so I can't try and copy that bit, but it's just a noise, it's an effect. So if you just bash that thick string and give the whammy bar a little bit of a wobble down there, you'll probably come up with something that sounds pretty close. This is a really totally cool tune, and I remember playing this as a teenager and having loads of fun with it. I definitely wasn't playing it particularly accurately way back then, you know. It was pretty rough rhythmically. I kind of think I had the chords right, but I couldn't ever get the thumb over the top to play the bass notes. I wasn't doing the twiddles, and I definitely hadn't paid so much attention to the way that the intro's played. And I don't think you really have to as well. If you're a beginner guitar player, figure out those notes and try and get them right, you know. Listen to the record a bit, try and play along with it. It's a really, you know, big deal there trying to play along with the record, but you know, if you're struggling, you can leave out some of those slides and the smaller nuances there, you know. Don't worry about them too much, just be playing the tune and enjoying it, and let those things kind of happen over time, because you know, these kind of tunes, I still feel like I'm working on this tune and other Hendrix tunes, you know, that they take a long time to kind of get really right and to be able to do it with a bit of energy and make it feel right, you know. So don't be upset with yourself if you're not kind of nailing it right away. And if you are, then that's fantastic, you know. It's a really good feeling to be able to nail these tunes properly, you know. So hope you have fun playing this tune, and I'll see you for the solo sometime in the future, because it's a great solo as well, using the old Octavia pedal. It's a really interesting sound. So yeah, you take care of yourselves. I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. Take care. Bye bye.